Hello, welcome to my Blu-ray update for January of 2017, and this will be the first of my new Blu-ray updates where I've decided to kind of change the format a little bit and only talk about the things that I've watched or films that I've already seen, so I have something to say about them, and it gives me more of a kind of a push to watch the things that I buy, so I can talk about them in the updates. And that's kind of done the trick for a couple of these already, so I think that's pretty cool, and hopefully this format works out. And whenever I do get something new that I'm not going to watch anytime soon, I can do a mail day video about it and still kind of do the general, don't know anything about this, but it looks pretty cool. So this one is going to be a Steelbook heavy update. A few things in here. The first three I got from Zavvi. I just saw three films that I've been wanting for a long time, and they were all pretty cheap. So I bulked them all into a 10% off order and got these like ridiculously cheap. So I was really happy about these three in particular. Now this one has gone up and down like a yo-yo. Like it's been like 28 quid, 30 quid, 10 quid, you know, back up to 30. I'm like, oh my god, you know, is it going out of print? I don't know. And then I found it on Zavvi for, I think it was like £8 or something, and then with the 10% off it took a couple of quid off, I think. Yeah, because all three came out to about £22, and then 10% off that is about 2 quid. So yeah, it's a great film, and it is The Hustler, starring Paul Newman. I watched this last year for my Paul Newman marathon, so you can hear more of my in-depth first thoughts on it there, and I will be reviewing it someday for the Epic Film Challenge too. But this is a great film about a pool hustler played by Paul Newman, and this film came out in the 60s. I forget which year exactly, late 60s, around the time that he did, or was it early 60s? I'm not sure. It was definitely before he did Cool Hand Luke, I know that much. But either way, Paul Newman plays this pool hustler who goes and seeks out this guy called Minnesota Fats, who's this legendary pool player. And Paul Newman's character just wants to be known as the best pool player, period. So he's searching for that while doing these kind of pool hustling kind of scams to kind of rip people off of money, and that's how he's like surviving. He has a guy who's kind of his manager, and he plays into the storyline as well. And I forget the other guy's name, he might be on the front. Yeah, George C. Scott plays a great character in this, and he kind of becomes a bit of a puppet master with all the characters. And my favourite parts are when it's pool playing, because I love playing pool. So that first kind of sequence at the beginning where he has this epic match that goes on for like a day with Minnesota Fats, this kind of war of attrition, I love that scene so much. But it kind of goes into more of a drama about his character itself, and that's kind of what the front cover more alludes to, is this kind of this struggle within of him and who he is and stuff. But I love all the pool stuff, and it's beautifully shot, fantastic film. The Steelbook's very nice. I love the original poster artwork they've gone with for the front there. The spine is very nice and classy too, just the black and the hustler and white. The back is terrible. I hate the back. I mean, as an image it's fine, but the way they've cut him out is really like fuzzy and just blurry around the outline of Paul Newman there. I just thought that was terrible. I really did. They could have done so much better with even just a still, you know. And I hate the front cover of the regular Blu-ray of this as well. This is kind of why I made this decision to pick up the Steelbook. It wasn't like this Steelbook was like, oh, an amazing looking Steelbook, but it was cheaper than the regular edition. And the regular edition, there's some kind of weird, Paul Newman doesn't look like himself on the front cover of that, for me anyway. And on the inside we have a look at Paul Newman's character and a girl who he becomes involved with in the film. So some nice inside artwork. I haven't seen any of the special features. I think there's a buttload on there, so I'm really looking forward to delving into those one day. But I love this film, and I really enjoyed the sequel to The Color of Money, which also has a Zavvi Steelbook, but that keeps going up and down. It was like 4 quid recently. I definitely would have jumped on it for that. Apparently the transfer is terrible. And the Steelbook's a little simplistic, but I definitely want to get it if I can, and if it drops down in price at some point. Next we have another film I love. This is just a phenomenal film. I recently reviewed it with Connie for the Epic Film Challenge too, and this is another Steelbook I've been sitting on for a long time, and I figured it might go out of print at some point, so I may as well jump on it. But it seems like it's been around and cheap for a very long time, so they might have done a pretty big print run for this. The Princess Bride. I love this Steelbook. I love the artwork. I don't know if it was an original poster. It certainly looks like it because it's painted, and it's a really nice painting, and it really captures the likeness of at least 3 of the characters. Andre the Giant looks a little bit off in the face, but the other 3 look phenomenal. I love that cover. Stunning visual. Just really love the front cover of this. On the back we have a promotional shot of the 3 quote-unquote villains of the film. or 3 of them anyway. I really like this though, especially considering that Andre the Giant and Mandy Patinkin's character, I love their relationship in the film, so seeing them on the back is kind of cool. And on the inside we have a still from the great sword fight. It's a little faded, you can't really see it that well. Okay, you can see it more on the camera, but that's a nice little still for the inside. Now, the film itself is a fantasy farce, and I love how it's set out and framed, because you have this young boy being told the story of the Princess Bride when he's home sick from school. And his granddad is played by Peter Falk, the legendary actor who played Columbo for so many years. And I love how it's framed in present day, and then we go back to this kind of fairyland, mystical, fantasy, medieval setting that kind of really just kind of takes the piss out of the fantasy genre. And it's based on a book. I'd really like to read it, actually. I've heard it's very good. Obviously, it's very good. It inspired a great film, directed by Rob Reiner, who I just love so many of his films, and he's done very different kinds of films, from like When Harry Met Sally, this is Spinal Tap, Princess Bride, Stand By Me, all very different films. You can kind of see links between them in terms of some of the humor, but he really has had a great filmography, particularly in the 80s. But yeah, I love this film. It's so quotable, so funny, and watching it again recently, I'd forgotten how poignant the ending was. It really got to me in a really unexpected way, and while that's not the main part of the film, I just thought that was really cool, and I think the performances are a lot of fun in this. Great 80s film. Definitely one to check out if you haven't seen it. It's one of those you haven't seen the Princess Bride kind of thing, so yeah. And then the final Zavvi Steelbook that I picked up is another one I've been sitting on for quite a while, and I'm glad I finally got it and kind of pulled the trigger. It is a film by John Hillcoat, based on the novel by Cormac McCarthy. And Matt Kustatui, if you're still watching YouTube, man, I finally got it. It's The Road. It's his favourite film, and I can see why. I watched this film many years ago, picked up the Blu-ray, and after I watched it, I just sold the Blu-ray instantly and thought, I want to get a nicer edition of this, because I thought it was such a special film, starring Viggo Mortensen, and is it Cody Schmidt-McPhee, I think, plays the young boy, and it's a film about a father and a son kind of traversing this post-apocalyptic landscape. The world has ended, it isn't really clear why, and I love that. It's very vague and just drops you right into the action with well, not even the action, but drops you right into the story of this father and son kind of fending for themselves and kind of coming across dangers and trying to survive. And you just feel like you're jumping into this story and you're not being given all the details. There are a couple of flashbacks that kind of flesh out what happened beforehand, but mainly you're on this journey, you're on the road with Viggo Mortensen's character and Cody Schmidt-McPhee. I'm pretty sure it's that kid. If it's not, I apologize, and I'll put a correction. But yeah, I love this film. It's very bleak, but it needs to be bleak, and I think it's a very touching relationship portrayed on screen by these two actors. You really believe you're watching a father and son. I feel like Viggo Mortensen is fantastic at portraying these very delicate roles and performances. Like he's amazing in Captain Fantastic, which he now got nominated for an Oscar for. I actually rewatched that film a couple of days ago, so I've seen it twice in about 2 months now, and it's a fucking phenomenal film. I really am a big fan of him as an actor. I need to see more of his stuff besides, this, Captain Fantastic, and Lord of the Rings. There's loads I haven't seen that apparently he's really great in. So yeah, I'm really glad to have this Steelbook and get it for a really cheap price. I like the back artwork that kind of spreads over from the front, like a nice uniform look there, and very bleak again. It seems to fit the tone of the film. And on the inside you have the father and son. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend it. It really it taps into just like this primal, father-son relationship, that it's just very raw, and kind of imagine, I kind of imagine myself in that situation. I feel like my dad would be someone who could survive in a situation like that, and so I kind of was imagining my own adventures I could have been getting up to if I was put into that situation. It's not that hard to imagine. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, I don't know what it is about these post-apocalyptic movies that I really like. I feel like I'd love to just experience a post-apocalyptic world if I was able to come back, just to spend a week there, because I just feel like I would enjoy trying to fend for myself, even though it would be horrible, it would be hell, but I'd love the challenge of it. I think people, we get things so easy, and I think that we take things for granted so much. We're very lucky in a lot of ways, and so I kind of almost pine for just a taste of that experience in a way. I don't know what that is. I say that when I watch The Walking Dead and all that kind of stuff. it appeals to me for some reason, and it must appeal to a lot of people because post-apocalyptic genre is huge. You know, when you think about zombies and zombie movies, shows, The Walking Dead. You know, people love that kind of stuff. They even do like things where you go to a mall and it's infested by zombies, and you know that like these you act out the situation, I suppose. So it must be a hugely popular thing, and I'm not just being a weirdo. Anyway, next one is an amazing release from Korea. It's the Blue Collection. And it's one of my favorite films from 2016. And when I saw this, I just had to get it. I really just had to get it. I just got on a bonus from work, and I thought I could get like 3 really nice Blu-rays, or I could just get this. And I thought I'm just going to get this because I love this film, and to get it in this really nice edition is something I'm going to cherish in my collection forever. Filmed by Richard Linklater. Everybody wants some. This is an awesome release. I love the packaging. It's a nice thick release and has some really cool packaging. As I already just said, I'm repeating myself. Obviously this film is set in the 80s and was a spiritual sequel in a lot of ways to Dazed and Confused, Richard Linklater's film from the 90s. And it literally just follows a group of college kids, you know, when they're about to start the season of playing baseball. It's a house full of you know, baseball students. Well, not students, but they're students who are in the baseball team, and so they're all lumped together in the same house, and you just see them over like the few days before school starts. And just them partying, hanging out. That's the whole film, and it's brilliant. I loved it. It's just, again, you feel like you just dropped into that world, and the dialogue is so on point. You believe in these characters so much. You know, there's at no point do you feel like you're watching a performance. You feel like you're watching actual guys just dicking around, and it doesn't sound like on paper like a great film, but I think it's fantastic. And you know, while people might not be able to rate it as high as other films because it almost feels like there isn't much effort involved, I think it must be incredibly difficult to convey something as realistic as this, or as realistically feeling as this. And of course it has the great 80s soundtrack, hence the kind of cassette tape theme on the packaging. One thing I will say, it being a Korean release, there's a slogan from the film that says, we're not here for a long time, we're here for a good time. And on the top of the Blu-ray here, it says, "Have for a good time, not a for time," which is just an absolutely hilarious piece of broken English there. Hopefully it'll focus and you can see it. You know, just terrible, right on the top of the Blu-ray, bang. But, you know, it is what it is. No big deal. And when you pull it out, there's like this nice kind of slip thing over the actual case, right? And I was thinking, what is this? So you take out the Blu-ray case itself. And then inside here you have this thick booklet, and then inside that you have a poster tucked inside here, and I think there's also no, it's inside the Blu-ray case. There's more stuff, but I mean, just it's a very extravagant packaging, but really cool. So yeah, the booklet has these nice images from the film itself, and lots of writing in Korean. There's an interview with Richard Linklater there. I have no idea what he says in it. Sometimes these Korean releases, or at least in the past few years, have become English friendly and have included English as well as the Korean in the booklets. Old Boy being one of the examples from recently, but this one doesn't. Although it does say "shake your groove" thing there, so there might be some more hilarious broken English lost in translation. Let the good time roll. Oh, this is brilliant. Yeah, so it's really cool, and I say that a lot, but yeah, I love this film so much. I'm a really big fan of Richard Linklater's style of kind of realism, I suppose, in the films that he makes, that you just feel like you're hanging out with characters, very similar to the way Tarantino writes his characters, but obviously his films are a lot more elaborate in many ways. And then we have the actual case itself, which is in a clear kind of Criterion case, again going with the cassette theme, and I think on the top here it has some of the musics I'll leave that in. There's some broken English of my own there. There's some of the songs that are included in the film on the cassette there, which is kind of cool. Nice little touch. Inside there again, just phenomenal. You get all these little trinkets and stuff which are just useless tat, but you know, it's fun to kind of flick through them. I won't open this, but there's like loads of Korean posters inside this which are really cool. In fact, I think I might have put a picture up on my Instagram, I'm not sure, when I got this back in December. And then on the inside, you can actually flip the artwork around if you want, and have a different a different front and back cover, which is really cool. But I decided to stick with the yellow cassette inspired one because the front is red, so I thought it'd be nice to have a bit of a difference. So yeah, and yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can say about the film without going into some kind of a review. But I'm a big fan of it, and I'm a big fan of Linklater. So to have one of his films in a really nice edition is always going to be a plus for me. And yeah, more of the soundtrack on this cassette thing here. And I think that's about it in terms of showing you what the edition is like. Oh, and that release is also limited to 1,000 copies, and I have number 781, though the numbering really doesn't bother me. I'm not one of those ones who wants to get a low number. Next up we have a couple of Stelbooks, well, 3 more Stelbooks actually. No, wait. Yeah, 3 more Stelbooks, I think. Yes, 3 more Stelbooks. I've already shown these in a mail day update. We have the Doctor of Cabinet. The Doctor of Cabinet. I'm getting tongue-tied. I'll leave that in again for free. You can have that. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, the incredible silent film, which just, you know, it's a landmark of visual cinema from 1919. I've done a very in-depth review of this. I was very proud of the review I did of this film. I really went into the research on it and stuff, and it's a fascinating story about how they made this and all the varying stories about who came up with what and everything, and the look of the film. And it's a very ahead of its time film in terms of the plot once you get to the end and you realize what's been going on. But it's about this this Dr. Caligari character who at the local fairground has this somnambulist, this kind of lifeless corpse who he can bring to life, and he'll tell the future. And that's the character here, this kind of tall, lanky, kind of imposing figure. And he's controlling this guy, and murders are going on in the town. But I mean, nothing looks real because everything is on a set, and the lighting is just all up the side of the walls, and the shadows are painted onto the set. It's a very unnerving film. The first time I watched it, I was just uncomfortable because of how claustrophobic it made me feel. It's a very affecting film in that way, and it's a really nice Steelbook release. And the commentary on the main film is fantastic. I really enjoyed it, by David Kalat, I believe. Very informative commentary, and really gives you a lot of good backstory on the film. And then there's a second disc on this release, which is exclusive to this release, which is a 2-hour documentary about Weimar, is it Weimar or Weimar cinema, you know, German cinema from I think 1818 to 1930. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's called From Caligari to Hitler. So I'm very intrigued by German films. I love silent German films, so I'm looking forward to checking out that 2-hour documentary. But the film itself is fantastic, and I'm glad I got this edition. And then one that I talked about a couple of days ago on the channel, did a movie vlog about it, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. I give my thoughts on this film pretty much in full. It is Metropolis, directed by Rintaro, and I forget what the manga creator's name was, I forget now, but he's kind of considered the godfather of manga, and he wrote this big epic Metropolis tale, and he says he wasn't influenced by the Fritz Lang film Metropolis. I call bullshit on that, because there's some very big similarities between this and the original Metropolis film, but it's very much his own thing, and I love how this film stands alone from anything I've ever seen before. From the futuristic visuals to the throwback old style jazzy blues soundtrack, and it's about this girl, this robot girl, who has been created to kind of be the ruler of the world in a way, and it's set in this futuristic city, this Metropolis, and there's a lot of power play going on, and kind of a political plot, but it's told in a very fun way. It has that kind of detective, kind of almost Blade Runner storyline to it at one point in the film towards the beginning. And you have robots, and you have underground resistance fighters, and you have the good guys, you have the bad guys, you have conflicted characters, you have characters who are big and grand and larger than life, and you have this very sweet and innocent robot character called Tima, who's on the front here, who is very much unaware of anything. You know, it's like she's been born for the first time, so it's a very intriguing character to watch progress throughout the film. And by the time you get to the climax, I was totally invested in where this was going to end up, and I thought it was a very interesting and unique finale. You know, I really appreciated the way that they kind of wrapped this film up. But I mean, visually, it's a spectacle. It really is. It's worth seeing at least once, I think. They are coming out with the standard release of this, I think in March, maybe even this month, February. So if you don't want to pick up the Steelbook, definitely have a look at the standard Eureka release. But it's a very nice steelbook, nothing on the back like usual with Eureka steelbooks, and some really nice inside artwork. And I'm not going to show you the other side because it wouldn't be a spoiler, but it kind of gives away quite a cool visual from the end of the film. So yeah, I'm really glad that I kind of blind bought this, because I knew I was going to really enjoy it from seeing the trailer a couple of years ago. Was just waiting for the Blu-ray to come out. Finally it has, and I'm definitely not regretting picking it up. Fantastic film. And yeah, I can't wait to check out the special features when I got the time to as well. And finally, one more steelbook, another Eureka steelbook, one I've already talked about again, and done a movie vlog about. It is Fright Night, and this is kind of a sought-after steelbook, and it's kind of annoyed a lot of people. There's a whole backstory about this. This was supposed to go live on Zavvi at a certain time, and they put it live 15 minutes early, I think, and it got sold out before anyone could even get a look in. It came back on. I managed to get my order in, then it went out of stock again. So a lot of people missed out on this, unfortunately. It was a very limited print run. Which is a real shame, and I hadn't seen it as well, so I felt guilty that I had blind bought this when so many fans wanted this. They are releasing it in a standard release though, just without the booklet, which is a bit of a shame. But it's a really fun 80s horror film. If you haven't seen my movie vlog, I'll go into it a little bit, but it's about this boy who thinks that a vampire has moved into him next door, and he's kind of getting obsessed about this idea. He's got a girlfriend, and she's kind of, yeah, I mean, I didn't like the girlfriend character. I didn't like his best friend's character either. There's quite a bit of overacting in this film that I didn't appreciate. But the main characters, like the guy who's supposedly the vampire, who played by Chris Sarandon, and the main kid, I kind of enjoyed him. But for me, the show stealer was Roddy McDowall. I love him. He's just, and it's so interesting how I've seen him from films like How Green Was My Valley when he was just a little kid, to the Planet of the Apes movies, and then to a film like this. I've just seeing him in so many different eras of his life and career, but you can just tell that it's him. You know, he just has such a distinctive look and sound to his voice. And he plays a really funny character who's this kind of actor who does this TV show called Fright Night, where he at some points he plays this vampire killer, and so the boy in the film goes to him for help, and you know it's a lot of fun. I had seen the remake from 2011 with what's his name, David Tennant playing the character that Roddy McDowall plays in this. I really enjoyed that as well. So going from the remake to this, I think this one's a much better film. Because by the time you get to the third act of this film, they go all out with the practical effects. Like, holy shit, some of the kind of gory kind of horror practical effects that you see in some 80s movies is really prevalent in this, particularly in the third act. I thought the third act was a blast, and any misgivings I had over some of the weaker acting earlier on kind of just melted away in that third act. It's so much fun and kind of gruesome and funny, but you know, there's a lot of elements at play there, and I really enjoyed this. And apparently there's like a 2-hour documentary on the making of the film on the Blu-ray as well, so very nice release. And there's the booklet. And the inside artwork does spoil something from the ending too, so I'm going to leave that one out, because I kind of was waiting for it to happen, and I wish I hadn't been. It's basically one of the monster effects, so I'll leave it at that. But there's some cool inside artwork as well. Really nice release. And I've talked about it before, but there's tons of kind of hairline scratches all along the back and across the front, which seem to be an ongoing issue with Eureka Steelbooks, which is really weird. I don't know the deal with that, but I'm trying to let it go. So there we go. That's my Blu-ray update, and I went for 23 minutes talking about, like, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 titles. So it just shows you what a difference it really can be, and perhaps it's better to kind of just do a few and go into them in depth a bit more. I don't know, give me some feedback. I'm going to stick to this though. I like doing the kind of, you know, just showing the ones that I've seen. You know, there's a couple downstairs that I haven't watched yet, so I'm not going to talk about them. So yeah, I like doing it like this. So hopefully you did too, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.